Today we'll talk about feasibility study and information modeling. These are two important components to take on when we start with any project production. When we go for any kind of process, any kind of activity, the feasibility study becomes a very fundamental thing that we should do before going into any kind of process. Feasibility means something which analyzes what we are going to do is going to be done or not. It is going to be fruitful for us or not. So in software engineering also we go for feasibility study, and information modeling also is a phenomena that happens in software engineering because we need to convey information from one stakeholder to the other stakeholder, and all the stakeholders who are working in a project must know exact requirements of the project to be made. For that we need to create information models. So when we talk about feasibility study is basically used for evaluation of feasibility of a project in a software development environment. So we start with the feasibility analysis, and our aim in this phase of software development life cycle is to basically conclude whether it will be beneficial to go for a product development or not, from the point of view of the organization who is making the project, and also ultimately for the customer who has come up for finding the solution to his existing problem. So we have to take into account both the parties, the developing organization as well as the organization for whom we are developing the project. So when we talk about feasibility study, in the process of analyzing the feasibility of a particular project, we basically try to find out whether whatever we are planning, whatever we are intending to do in terms of development of the project, in terms of implementation of the project, and in terms of contribution of the project to the overall growth of the organization for which we are making the project, whether all things will go in the right direction as planned or not. That is what feasibility study is all about. And when we go for feasibility study, there are different aspects of feasibility that we take into account. There are 5 broad areas where we check the feasibility of a project. Typically we address them as technical feasibility, operational feasibility, economic feasibility, schedule feasibility, and legal feasibility. We will take on each of these types of feasibility and explore what they all do in order to give a final statement on whether we are going for a project or not. So starting with technical feasibility, when we talk about technical feasibility, it is related to the technical aspects. We need a lot of technology when we are going for a software development project. We need a lot of technology, including both hardware and software. We need to know whether we have that required technology for completing a project or not. If we start and we do not have the required hardware or software technology to support us, we will land nowhere. We will be left in between, and sometimes it may happen that we may have to scrap the project. Technical feasibility also takes into account whether we have the required manpower for making a project or not. We need to have a skilled manpower which will be able to support the overall development of the project. Also, we need to know in advance whether all technologies which are there to support this particular kind of a development is available or not. So with all these types of analysis about the technical aspects of a software, we can get an idea whether the project is technically feasible or not. It also includes analyzing the future maintenance and upgradation of the project and the scope of technology. Whatever technology you are taking, you have to identify whether this technology will be a future technology or not, or it is going to be obsolete in the coming times. So with this all background on technology, we take a go ahead whether to take a project as technically feasibly or not. Then the second type of feasibility is operational feasibility. The kind of methods which will be adopted for operating that product after its deployment, during its maintenance, whether we'll be able to operate the product conveniently or not, what kind of manpower will be required for operating the product, what kind of literacy level, what kind of technical skill level will be required for operating the product. All these things are also taken into account when we are going for operational feasibility. The next type of feasibility study that we take into account is economic feasibility. This study of feasibility relates to cost and benefit analysis. Here we take into account all the kind of resources that will be employed. We take costing of hardware, costing of software, design, development cost, operational cost, any other direct or indirect cost that will be expended in making the project. And based on the cost benefit analysis, we find out whether it is beneficial for the organization, developing organization, to go for a project, and also ultimately for the customer to go for development of a project, whether he will be able to gain some kind of profit from that project or not. So we analyze the economic feasibility. This feasibility is basically the deciding factor about whether a project development will happen or not. Schedule feasibility is the next type of feasibility. Here in schedule feasibility, we basically find out what timelines will be there, what deadlines have been given to us by the customer, and what timelines we can follow in order to deliver the customer the required product as per his expectation. So we here try to analyze how much time will be taken in different phases of development and try to approximate what is the total development of time, what is the time required for the total development of the project, and we try to find out the actual timelines over here. Then the last type of feasibility study is legal feasibility. Legal feasibility relates to evaluating whether we are going for developing something which is acceptable legally or not. We here try to see and analyze the different norms, different protection acts, different social media laws, different project certificates, licenses, copyrights, and all those things, laws of land for which we are making a project, and ultimately if we get a clearance of conformance to all those laws, then only we find that it is feasible to go for a project in legal aspects. So this is also very, very important, because in case we do not take into account the legal feasibility, ultimately there may be some legal repercussions for the development, and the project may be scrapped in case it does not conforms to the legal aspects. So the need for feasibility is very, very important to know. The feasibility study gives us a clear indication of whether we are going for a project development or not. We basically in the beginning only identify what are the associated risks for developing and deploying a particular software in a customer's environment, and we have all idea about all the associated risks which can be active in future in a particular project. So with the help of feasibility study, we can plan all these things in advance. If we have analyzed about the feasibility of a particular situation, particular project to be deployed, we have, it means, analyzed all the associated risks. And also this feasibility study in the beginning helps us to verify all the business alternatives. All the possible options are explored in the beginning for taking on the different project stages, and based on our analysis we can decide which is the most optimum one, and then we take on the most optimum one for our current context. The different outcomes this feasibility study comes up with. The first and the most obvious outcome is we get a clear-cut answer of whether a project development is viable or not. Secondly, we also get an idea about the achievement of the project's vision statement. The customer has come to us with some intention. He wants to get something developed from us, whether we are able to address the project's vision or not. That is very, very clearly identified with the help of feasibility study. Feasibility study also helps us in analyzing the cost benefit analysis, the schedules, targets, estimates, whether whatever customer estimated we can do our project, we can complete our project in those estimates of time and cost or not. Overall, it also gives us an idea about the business model, whether it is justified in terms of the expended resources or not. So the feasibility study provides us all these types of outcomes. Along with that, it also helps us in identifying the major risks which can be in advance identified, and they can be suitably addressed as we go on with the different stages of project development. It also gives us an idea about whether the current status of the specifications of the project is complete or not, or whether some more work is required in order to explore more about the actual requirements of the project. It gives a complete vision about whether the software development plan is complete or we need some more support on it. So these are all the different outcomes of feasibility study, and they are very helpful in the other succeeding stages of software development lifecycle. Now we talk about information modeling. Information modeling, as the name says, is information. It starts with information, and we create information models in this particular phase of software development lifecycle. Here, information becomes very, very important. When we are making a software, it is an intangible phenomena. Here we are not aware what actually will be the solution of our problem. If we are going to make a car, it's a repetitive process. We repeat the process again and again. We can manufacture things without much sharing of information because the process is repetitive. But when we are going for software development, we need a lot of information because the problem is always new. It is requiring unique information to be shared between different stakeholders who will be acting on different phases of software development lifecycle. So information modeling here becomes very, very important phenomena, and with the help of information modeling, we provide a common level of understanding, which becomes very, very important to all the stakeholders in any development environment. Software development is a collaborative activity, and when we are collaborating, we need to be very clear about what we want to communicate. So information models basically help us in communicating the right kind of information to the right kind of people. If we have any flawed understanding, then that will be cause of building a bad software, and ultimately sometimes even the IT projects fails due to bad communication at the time of development between the different stages, different stakeholders who are involved in the development process. The IT people must understand what the users needs, and also the business people, the management people must understand what information need they have in order to do their business. So there must be a clear understanding of what actual requirements are for the organization who is going for developing a software product, and for the customer also who is getting the software product made for himself. The customer may sometimes not be aware about his actual requirements. He may ask for something, but his actual requirements may be something different from the projected requirements. So IT people must understand what are the actual requirements of the customer. What we get from an information model. Information modeling provides us a representation. It's a kind of representation of different concepts, relationships, constraints, operations to specify data semantics, to represent data, to show data, what kind of information is required to convey anything which is the part of our project needs to be very, very clearly defined. So information models try to bridge the gap between different stages by providing the right kind of information to different stages of development. It specifies the relation between kinds of things. It provides stable, shareable and organized structure of information. It encourages mutual understanding between all stakeholders. When people are using the right kind of tools enabled by information models, then they will have a right kind of understanding. Every stage of development needs information specific to its requirements. So when we use information models, we will be able to convey the right kind of information at every stage of software development life cycle. An information model basically provides a structure of information that is conveyed between different stages of the development of life cycle of a software product. The information conveyed in a structure basically makes it uniform, and everybody knows what kind of information is being conveyed to them, and they extract the rightful information for making the product in a expected and desired manner. If we try to define the information model formally, it's basically a formal description of a portion of interest of the real world that provides explicit rules and to enable the data items that populate the model to be interpreted without ambiguity. So the main concern over here is we are portraying some real-time phenomena, real-time problem with the help of different tools, and we want to here provide all the rules or the data manipulations in order to portray what actually this software solution will work about, and there is no ambiguity in this illustration. Every meaning, every word, every meaning should be very, very clear to everyone. If somebody is reading, somebody else is reading, everybody knows the same meaning for whatever is mentioned in the information model. The information models are basically having two major components, its scope and information requirements. So we'll talk about scope first. The scope of an information model basically defines its boundaries, the domain of discourse, which are supported by the information model. It identifies what lies in the domain of the model, what all the model encapsulates. What is not there in the model is everything that is not mentioned in the scope. So the scope includes different viewpoints regarding the type of product, the type of data requirements, the supporting manufacturing scenarios, the supporting industry scenarios, the supporting activities, supporting stage in the product life cycle. All these things come under the scope of the information modeling. The methods of doing information modeling and information requirement basically are very, very common to everyone. We gather information, we gather data in the same manner it has been practiced over years. We have different methods like literature surveys. We identify information, we capture information from the previous work of the researchers, which has already been done, which has already been proven. We take the help of these literature surveys. We do standard surveys accomplished with the help of modern tools, modern e-tools like Google survey, very popular nowadays. We do domain expert interviews by connecting to the experts who have a relevant experience in the industry, relevant to our problem, so that we can have their first-hand feedback on what goes wrong and what goes right when we are making a project. Then we can have industrial data reviews, which is a standard industry data about any domain of interest, and also we can define our own state-of-the-art assessments specific to our particular requirements of information modeling. There are different practices which are used in developing information models. We use data flow models, data flow diagrams, data dictionaries, e-diagrams, and many other such tools in order to portray the information to the different viewers who want to view the information to have a clearer vision about the problem resolution. So we have such type of illustrative tools with which we can illustrate our information model. That was all about information modeling also. Thank you.